Isn't that a beautiful shot of the South Shore as it nudges up against Boston? Everything is so green and luscious. I'm sorry about the slight haze. Here, let me see if I can fix that for you a little bit. There, is that a little better? Okay. Off in the distance are the gas tanks, although only one's visible in this shot. Behind that is Dorchester Bay, the picturesque UMass campus, and way off in the back, the Bunker Hill Monument. Now let me shift the angle of the camera just a tad, and voila! Just like that, the ominous Boston skyline. Actually, I meant to say awesomeness Boston skyline. Yeah, I know the word doesn't exist, but it's spring and winter's behind us. So let's make up a few words. Now from behind the camera, I'm going to try something tricky. I'm going to try to sneak into the view of the camera. It's going to be tricky, so bear with me for a second. Let me see if I can do this here. Slowly. Let me see if I can get into the view of the camera here without blocking too much of your view. Yes, there I am. Hi Mom, please send money. Oh yes, where was I? Oh yeah, spring has sprung. The buds are budding, the blossoms are blossoming, the trees are taking over the world. Yay trees! And life is starting all over anew again. And you suddenly feel this urge to go into your closet and grab your camera and start taking pictures. But wait, how about that camcorder of yours? Should you be taking pictures or video? What will it be? Do you want to be an Ansel Adams or a Hollywood movie maker? Perhaps chronicling that episode for National Geographic on the rites of spring. Well, I'm going to try to see if I can answer that question without angering too many people. I know it's a very touchy subject, and there could be a lot of irate people, because I know that there are lots of shutterbugs and there are lots of video fanatics. And let's see what we can come up with. Oh, by the way, I'm Joe Pereira, and welcome to Mind and Money Matters. Hello folks, I'm back again. Remember me asking my mom for money a few minutes ago? Well, the good lady actually did send me some money, and I used it to transport myself from the Blue Hills where you saw me last to Rushikonda Beach, which is where I am now in the Bay of Bengals. Look behind me, isn't it a beautiful sight? Your golden sands and your turquoise water in the Bay of Bengal, which is in the Indian Ocean, about 5,000 miles away from where I was a few minutes ago. Wow, this is a great life. I know some of you may be thinking that I am showing off, and I have been accused of that from time to time, and I do plead guilty on that count. But not this time, honest. I am really trying to show you the joys of video making. Take that, you camera buffs. was really weird. Actually, I have to make a confession. I never really tried to get into the picture on top of the Blue Hills. It's actually a video editing trick that I used. It's called green screening. And yes, I never really was at Rishikonda Beach in India. Once again, I green screened it from Quincy, Massachusetts. Part of the reason was my very cheap mom. She never really sent me any money. You can sign up for classes on shooting and editing video at Quincy Community Access Television. The lessons are free and the staff is very friendly. There is a $15 annual fee, but the price of a Chinese takeout dinner is more expensive these days. So to answer the question, camera or camcorder, there are two answers. I'll give you the easy one first. If you're only going to use the automatic settings of your camera or camcorder, then I'd lean towards the camcorder. When you take video, you not only get a good picture, you also get that often overlooked added value to memories and moments, such as the chuckle of an infant, that gutsy cheer of an enthusiastic crowd, the joke the photographer made that cracked everybody up, the sound of footsteps on a soggy road after a big storm. These are the endearing ways of people that kind of stick with you. And so sound adds so much more to the pictures that we take. Imagine yourself watching a silent movie today. I think videography brings you into the 21st century. But wait, don't bring out the champagne bottles yet. We're not done arguing. We still have to discuss a whole new classification of people that are being called a word that's not even in the dictionary. The prosumer. What exactly is a prosumer? A professional consumer? I find it to be a very demeaning word. Are they talking about people who are very, very good at consuming? No, I don't think so. I think it's actually worse than that. They're talking about camera and video camera buffs who aren't good enough to charge for the photos and videos they take. Could they be talking about this guy? Hi, Mom. I think a lot of prosumers are better than you give them credit for. I like to define a prosumer as someone who knows his or her camera so well that they like to use its manual controls rather than leaving the camera on automatic. Here's where the camera camp can make a strong argument. At least at the prosumer level, a traditional camera takes a better picture than a video camera in the same category. And that's because with a regular camera, you have a lot more manual control than you do with a video camera. There is a trend in Hollywood and in movie making circles to use regular cameras to shoot movies. If you're still watching this program, you'll probably want to raise your hand and ask, wait, how can a camera that takes still shots be used to make movies? I'll keep it simple. Remember what we used to call 35mm cameras? You're right, those couldn't shoot movies. After those cameras went digital, with a lot of tinkering in the last few years, those cameras can now take motion pictures. They call them DSLRs, digital single lens reflex cameras, but more on that at a later date. There are a lot of drawbacks to using a regular camera to shoot movies. I won't get into that right now. But the distinct advantage of a DSLR is the aperture of the lens. You can open up the lens so wide that you can have only your movie star in focus and everything else out of focus, as Hollywood director Edward Zwick did here with his 2008 award winner Defiance. Notice how Daniel Craig stands out in this sea of people. It's a little bit counterintuitive, but the more light you allow into your camera, the shorter your depth of field. You would think the opposite to be true. The blurring effect is called bokeh, B-O-K-E-H. It sounds pretty pretentious to me. Hey man, have you bokeh'd today? By opening up your lens and tinkering with the shutter speed, that's the length of time your lens is open for, you can take a better picture than allowing your camera to automatically do its own thing. There's something else called the ISO, but I won't get into that. Let me show you what I'm talking about. One recent evening I was taking a few shots with my Nikon D3100, a prosumer camera. At first I put the controls on automatic and let the camera take its own shot. And this is what it took. It's pretty, I'll grant you that. But I then put the camera on manual, opened up the lens by a couple of clicks or f-stops, and this is what I got. As you can see from the timestamp below, the second shot, the manual shot, was taken more than a half an hour later, and it looks brighter even though it's later in the evening. Since I didn't like the composition of the shot, it was just too busy with a lot of leaves, I took a more defined shot a few seconds later, once again using manual controls, and this is what came out. As you can see, with the manual controls you can manipulate your camera quite a bit. One shot with automatic looks pretty dark, and one shot with manual looks almost like a different time of day. Let me show you something else that you can do in total darkness with manual controls. It's actually pretty neat. This was a photo I took one recent evening at midnight on automatic. The robot in my camera just said, "This is ridiculous. It's midnight, man. You should be asleep." And this is what he came up with. But I one-upped the robot and took a series of pretty neat looking shots a few minutes later. So, to answer the question, camera or camcorder, here's my 2 cents. If you want to just do automatic, the camcorder. If you want to shoot mostly movies, the camcorder. If you want your shots to come out like Ansel Adams, you could try making stills out of the video from your camera and see what comes out. But there's no question, hands down, the better quality images are going to come from a DSLR lens. Man, I wish I was sitting on that beach in the Bay of Bengal. So long, folks.